In March of 2020, the world experienced an economic crash which hasn't been seen since the Great Depression when looking at unemployment numbers. The Dow Jones crashed 36%, and the S&P 500 crashed 33%. Bitcoin, often thought as a safe haven asset, store value similar to gold, crashed 55%. What many consider to be digital gold was now looking like paper gold. However, at the time of this video, Bitcoin has rebounded and surpassed the point right before the March crash. What makes Bitcoin so different from all other assets? Well, one defining characteristic is that it's created with decentralization in mind.
Tu n'es pas très belle, mais ce que j'aime, c'est tes caresses. Non pas très belle, mais tout ce que j'ai, je te le laisse. C'est tout ce qui me reste. C'est tout ce qui me reste.
So what is decentralization? To decentralize something is to disperse it from a center area of concentration. This dispersal can be a dispersal of power or a dispersal of function. How this dispersal happens through decentralized systems is through incentivized volunteers. With mineable cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, transactions are validated through a network of miners. New coins are printed by an algorithm that's preset, and these printed coins are given to validators for their work in validating transactions, as well as transaction fees paid by the people sending each transaction. With cryptocurrencies that use staking, such as Ethereum 2.0, stakers are also validating transactions. The amount they stake is how much time they're allotted to validate transactions as block proposers. And if they are found to be acting maliciously, their stake gets slashed, keeping network validations honest. Mining and staking are both algorithms to make Bitcoin and Ethereum manipulation resistant. There doesn't have to be any trust that that a single validator will operate honestly to know that the protocol will operate as expected. To manipulate the protocol in any way requires a significant amount of capital to do an attack of 51% of the network. This amount of capital is exceedingly expensive to do. In both the cases of mining and staking, by incentivized volunteers, I mean by volunteers that the users are participating by buying their own equipment. None of the equipment is bought by a central company. And by incentivize, I mean these participants receive some sort of payment through some sort of economic payment. This system of incentivized volunteers can be seen with Uber. With Uber, for example, anyone can become a driver if they pass certain criteria. This criteria includes having a driver's license, owning a car that is to the specification of Uber, and passing a background check, among other things. Just like miners have to buy their own equipment to become validators, Uber drivers must buy their own car to become an Uber driver. They do this because the amount that they gain by becoming a participant is more than the payment of buying the equipment. Uber as a company doesn't pay for the cars, but in return for providing customers to the driver, Uber takes a service fee. Depending on the circumstance, Uber may not pay a service fee at all and may pay the driver extra for what the customer hasn't paid. But in most cases, Uber will take a service fee of up to and above 25% of what the customer pays. Another system of incentivized volunteers can be seen with Airbnb. With Airbnb, hosts offered their property to customers who need a place to stay. In some cases, the hosts don't even own the property or are renting it from their landlord. With the landlord's permission, they're able to rent out their Airbnb and have the revenue from the Airbnb pay the rent and still pocket extra profit. Airbnb also doesn't put payments to owning these properties, but they do offer these hosts clients. Uber takes a 6 to 12% charge for the customer and a 3% charge for the host for every successful transaction. The only network I'm aware of within cryptocurrency that has a service fee is Bitcoin Cash. The controversy with service fees in cryptocurrency is that taking fees from miners represents some sort of central authority. However, not providing payments to the development of the software ends up in slower growth of the software, which may end up not acquiring as many users as the development of the technology doesn't mature quickly enough. Uber, Airbnb, Bitcoin, and Ethereum are all protocols that use decentralization as a dispersal function, but what about the dispersal of power? One example of dispersing power can be seen with democracies. With the US, for example, there's a federal government and a state government for each individual state. For states, they can set their own laws individual to that government, independent of what the federal government is saying. Additionally, representatives making the decisions are elected. If some politician is seen to be losing reputation, they can lose their position, just like ETH 2.0 validators are slashed their rewards. So how do you design a decentralized platform? The first step is to find a market where decentralization could work. Uber and Airbnb are both appropriate because they're based on equipment and the average person can acquire. Anyone could acquire a car and anyone can own property. However, something like decentralized construction working, where someone needs to acquire large construction equipment, may not be the best choice for decentralization. The next step after finding a market is creating a microeconomy. The microeconomy consists of producers and consumers. The producers are producing some sort of value that the consumers are consuming. With Uber, the value being produced is travel from one location to another. With Airbnb, the value being produced is a place to stay while they're visiting some location. The value with cryptocurrencies miners are producing is running the network so participants or people owning cryptocurrency can transfer their value from one person to another. For a volunteer to become an incentivized volunteer, they must be receiving some sort of economic payments. If value is being transferred from the producers to the consumers and consumers to producers, the platform can then take a small percentage of a service fee to fund its own development, to continue bringing producers and consumers together. After a system of incentivization is created, the next step is onboarding. For Uber, the Uber driver is responsible for the life of the passenger, so a formal background check is required. For Bitcoin, however, the onboarding process is education on how to set up mining equipment to mine. So onboarding can be a screening or an education process. These decentralized platforms, due to their nature, should have some sort of a governance structure set in place. For Airbnb and Uber, there is customer service that handles disputes between producers and consumers. With the cryptocurrencies, governance structures are still being fleshed out. However, upgrades are done through formal proposals or specifications. So it creates some sort of conflict management system or governance structure for decision making. And after a platform exists, of course, it should be marketed. These kind of platforms are funded through users and producers and consumers. If there are no users, there's no platform. The decentralized platform, while not necessarily new, has seen recent success in adoption. While what creates these platforms from market to market differs, what is constant is that creation of new microeconomies where producers and consumers are part of the same platform.